Brought to you by Thomas Allgaier and Frennis. This edition highlights key LinkedIn posts on electrification and battery technology in weeks 50-01. Frennis supports automotive enterprises and consultancies with market and competitive intelligence, so product teams and strategy leaders do have the optimal base for their strategic decisions. Okay, let's unpack this deep dive into the top electrification and battery technology trends we've seen across LinkedIn.
And what stands out immediately is that the conversation has officially shifted. It's really moved away from if EVs will succeed to how they operate profitably at scale.
Exactly. The focus is now totally on execution and reliability, not just, peak technology.
Well, what's fascinating here is we're seeing megawatt charging, heavy-duty fleets, V2G. They're being framed less as side experiments and more as vital components of a future energy system.
As actual grid assets.
As actual grid assets, yeah. So we really need to look closely at the operational and the policy pivots that are happening right now.
So let's start there. The success of all this physical technology, it really relies on the regulatory and economic structures built around it. Okay, so let's unpack this. What is fundamentally missing for the end user right now?
Price transparency. It sounds so simple, but it's huge. I saw Helmut Wicken noted that a core frustration drivers express is just, I don't know how much this is going to cost me.
That's a completely legitimate expectation.
Yeah.
It needs to be addressed with a clear breakdown, a price display before you even start charging. That's how you build trust.
Right. And governments are trying to respond, trying to cut through the complexity. Monica Troilo detailed Germany's Charging Infrastructure Master Plan 2030.
Oh, okay.
And it really focuses on streamlining permitting and, crucially, supporting ISO 151-1820.
Which is so important for grid integration, for smart charging.
It's the whole backbone. And we're seeing this kind of strategic industrial policy in action elsewhere. Harold M. Depta highlighted Spain's approach.
With the Purity and MOVE 3 programs.
Exactly. They're using them to attract EV and battery manufacturing investments, and they're aiming for 95% electrified vehicles produced by 2035. That kind of predictability, it attracts capital.
And here's where it gets really interesting for corporate fleets. Marcella Krall noted that starting in 2026, subsidies for e-company cars are going to require verifiable proof of 100% green electricity usage.
Wow.
So now your energy data and your documentation are tied directly into compliance.
That changes the game. So that brings us to the heaviest users then, heavy-duty fleets.
The consensus is that 2026 is shaping up to be the year of the electric truck. James Carter argued it's all driven by TCO advantage, but that success hinges entirely on charging infrastructure readiness.
Totally. And on that note, Tobias Wagner and Michael Clark confirmed the network is already pretty substantial. They said there are over 1,300 truck-ready charging locations you can find across Europe right now.
So the infrastructure is there.
It's there, but the real debate is where the charging power should be deployed. I saw Jens Winkler stressing that while megawatt charging, or MCS, is the superstar,
right,
robust CCS2 depot charging is the actual backbone. He cited an ICCT study projecting that 85% of total EU truck fleet charging power needs by 2030
85%
will be met through depot and overnight charging.
So it's stability over peak power. He made a great point that a 400 kilowatt charger that derates to 250 after 30 minutes is just a liability for a logistics schedule.
A huge liability. Trucks need that high power consistently and for long durations.
And that brings up the need for separation from passenger cars.
Oh, absolutely. Bozidar Christoph observed that when you have these high power chargers shared, the truck's rate just drops significantly the moment a passenger car plugs in.
Which creates massive operational problems for time-sensitive commercial operators.
Right. So you need dedicated commercial charging areas. And we're starting to see these early hubs emerge.
Yeah, Jonah Toireys mentioned Finland's largest heavy-duty vehicle charging station in the port of Haminakatka. It's offering a record 1,200 kilowatt MCS dispenser.
And Fabrice Kathman confirmed the first public megawatt charging park in Germany's Ruhr region is coming in mid-2026. So you can see it's really moving into the deployment phase.
Okay, so that's charging. The other major theme is bidirectional charging. VDG, V2H.
Right, the interoperability challenge. Munir Mamnoon called it a game changer, turning the EV into a mobile battery that can potentially make you money. So what does this all actually mean for the grid?
Well, the potential is massive.
Yeah.
Andrew Daniels explained how two-way charging can stop renewable energy from being wasted, from being curtailed.
And Toyota had that startling statistic. If all 4 million EVs on U.S. roads were V2G enabled,
they could contribute 40,000 megawatts to the grid.
That's equivalent to 40 nuclear reactors. It's an incredible amount of distributed storage.
But and this is a big but, the path to realizing the value is complex. Casey Boyce emphasized that real-world V2G value is, and I'm quoting him, overwhelmingly determined by rate design, not just the tech.
So the policy has to be right?
Exactly. He also noted that driving behavior, plugging in only when your state of charge is low, leaves a ton of energy capacity on the table.
Which then raises this really important question. What does B2Ready even mean right now?
Good question. Nicholas Hamburger and Sebastian Luque stressed that it often just means physically capable.
Right. But scaling V2G requires rigorous interoperability. It needs standards like ISO 151-1820, clear security frameworks.
Which is what Trine is actively testing. Juan Miguel Espin-Lopez saw this firsthand at their recent festivals.
And we are seeing pilots moving to scale, though. Robinberg reported the national V2G rollout is accelerating in the Netherlands. My Wheels is tripling its shared Renault 5 fleet and installing new V2G public chargers.
So it's happening.
It's happening. And beyond V2G, the battery itself is undergoing a fundamental shift in how it's designed and managed. Let's start with longevity and circularity.
I really like Stefan Grosser's anecdote about the 12-year-old Smart EV. It was so relatable. Instead of a 17,000 euro battery replacement, a partial repair of just the weak cells cost 900 euros.
And it restored capacity from 75% to 95%?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It highlights this sufficiency thinking. Resource conservation over just replacing everything.
And then on the high-tech side, Mark Moulton reported on Donut Labs' solid-state battery claims. They're talking 400 watt-hours per kilogram density and a 100,000 cycle life.
If that's true at scale, that's a full charge in 5 minutes. A genuine step change.
It is. But what about the end-of-life cycle for what we have now? Piotr Polak noted that CATL's subsidiary is achieving near 100% recovery of cathode elements.
And over 96% of lithium from 120,000 tons of used batteries.
That shows high-efficiency recycling is moving from a promise to actual measurable metrics. This is happening now.
And connecting this back to operations, the charging infrastructure itself is becoming more software-defined. Casper H. Rasmussen argued the competitive edge for a CPMS in 2026 will really rely on scalability and AI integration.
To minimize manual processes, yeah. And to achieve, he said, a 99% successful charge session rate.
That's the key metric. And Sebastian Hensler highlighted Sungrow's focus on open modular software as the foundation for that stability, rather than proprietary customization.
And that shift to robust software is seen in standardization efforts, too. Marco Muller reported that the open-source Everest project reached a valuation of $600 million.
That's a huge signal of maturing software infrastructure. It's becoming the reference implementation, and it secures the whole ecosystem against patent risks.
Okay, so finally, let's tie all this back to the OEMs. Let's look at strategy and market signals, because not everyone is moving in lockstep here.
No, definitely not. The Ford F-150 Lightning write-down is really instructive. Michael Ander Gomez argued this was just a strategic failure, a misunderstanding of the customer.
Because trucks are capital equipment. They prioritize uptime, serviceability, TCO. It's not about ideology or lifestyle signaling.
So retreating to hybrids and EREVs is sort of a necessary bridge for them. It's what the market is demanding.
And then you have the complete opposite side of that. Omar Yahi positioned Chinese manufacturers as the pace setters. They're combining advanced software-defined vehicles with unique operating models.
Like battery swap stations. Jason Yu gave a first-hand look at a 2-megawatt truck battery swap station in China. The automated swap takes under 5 minutes.
Under 5 minutes. And it operates as a virtual power plant.
It's a massive advantage. And this raises an important question for European OEMs.
Yeah.
Professor Dr. Benedict Meyer suggested that while reduced CO2 targets might give them some breathing room,
the long-term risk is that slow economies of scale and consumer confusion will just hinder them. They need to get serious about pursuing software and powertrain leadership.
So what does all of this mean then?
I think it means the next phase of electrification is just defined by execution. It's about reliable depot charging, securing V2G interoperability, and using software to manage complexity.
Yeah. And here's where it gets really interesting for me. Given that massive market shift in commercial fleets where, as Marcus Bach said, operators can do the math, and you combine that with the promise of solid-state batteries.
The focus on reliability.
The focus on reliability is going to be the single biggest competitive edge in 2026. If the technology and economics align, then operational stability is the final hurdle.
That's the one metric to watch.
If you enjoyed this deep dive, new editions drop every 2 weeks. Also check out our other editions on future mobility and market evolution, next-gen vehicle intelligence, and commercial fleet insights. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Be sure to follow and subscribe so you don't miss our next analysis.